Dragons. In our imaginations, we can all conjure them. The dragon is a pertinent figure in many cultures around the globe, including Slovenia, a small Central European country that first gained its independence not 30 years ago. From an evil beast that must be slain to make room for progress, to a cultural symbol of strength, courage, and wisdom, the role of the dragon in Slovenian culture has undergone a metamorphosis, one that represents the country's newfound sense of national pride, concurrent with the revival of old ways. In my dance piece, Slovenian Dragons, the dragon also symbolizes myself and my Slovenian ancestors and all those who experienced a death and eventual rebirth of their cultural identity. But why dance? Well, the moving body is powerfully symbolic. The body can accurately and intimately represent human experiences such as struggle, victory, grief, and connection, as well as any number of abstracted or non-human ideas. Dance is a highly visible medium of art and communication, and is therefore at the frontier where social and cultural change takes place. Dance also assumes that despite cultural differences, viewers of dance have a natural and kinesthetic understanding of the human body. It's the reason that you might intuitively recognize the difference between classical representations of swan wings and dragon wings. Through the choreography of Slovenian dragons, I'm concerned with themes of cultural reclamation. The dance invokes the dragon not only by imprinting dragon-like shapes and qualities of movement on the dancers, but also thematically. And it was inspired by a recent trip I took to Slovenia, where my grandmother was from, to conduct ethnographic research about my heritage. This included a stay in Ljubljana, the capital city, which proudly bears the nickname the City of Dragons. There are several origin stories for this name. Of the two most often cited, the first supposes that Ljubljana was the site where the Greek hero Jason famously encountered and slayed or put to sleep a dragon during his adventures in the Odyssey. The second story refers to St. George, who is popularly depicted slaying a dragon with a spear from the back of a white horse. He's the patron saint of the Ljubljana Castle, which was built on top of a sacred pagan site. Many Slovenian churches feature murals above their pulpits depicting a dead dragon. Long has the dragon been the embodiment of evil in its truest sense, and its death consistently marked a shift from the archaic and barbarous into modernity and civility, governed by whoever bore the sharpest and quickest sword. But the dragon in pre-Christian Slovenian folktales and Slavic paganism has a morally ambiguous personality, and they feature in many local origin stories and folktales. Some are destructive, multi-headed, and vicious, yes, but many are harmless and benevolent, and despite their power to shape mountains and control the weather, they protect crops, defend natural resources, and are powerful forces of good. If we equate Slovenia as a country with the character of the dragon, then we might say that it's been slain several times over and by far worse beasts. After centuries of conquest, colonization, and imperialism dating all the way back to the Egyptians, Celts, and Romans, to the Austro-Hungarians, Germans, and Italians, in 1918, Slovenia joined a coalition that was briefly known as Yugoslavia. As they grappled with the end of the Hamburg Empire in the mid-20th century, Slovenian lands were forcefully divided between the three totalitarian regimes of fascism, Nazism, and communism. However, a, quote, growing sense of ethnic identity, unquote, between the 15th and 20th centuries is how Slovenians survived, according to the National History Museum. In 1991, it was the first to secede from Yugoslavia, fight its war of independence, and declare itself a sovereign nation. Today, the City of Dragons has a dragon mascot. It features the dragon on their national soccer team, and one of its most famous sites, the Dragon Bridge, is visited by millions of tourists every year. And synchronous with the rising favor of the dragon is the resurgence of Slovenian traditions that were abolished by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, particularly ethnic or pagan festivals such as Kudentovanja, Shrovataj, and the Dragon Festival. The cultural shift of the dragon and the dragon's role in Slovenian society is what caught my attention when I traveled there. If the death of a dragon symbolizes a great change, and the presence of a dragon marks the state of power and wealth, be it of knowledge or other resources, then Slovenia's embracing of the dragon since its independence isn't coincidence. Rather, the dragon now represents a revival of values once lost and a reassertion of power by changing the narrative around the dragon. My family was not part of this revival. Shortly before World War I, my ancestors immigrated to the United States. I argue that, like the dragon, through immigration, they too have been slain. For if a dragon's wings, for example, are imperative to their identity, then to separate oneself from your culture and history is to sever yourself from your wings. And yet, generations later, during a time of relative peace and prosperity, I had resources and liberty enough to return to Slovenia, and in doing so, I called forth the spirit of the dragon, echoing and embodying the Slovenian dragon's reclaiming of identity. This dance has 3 sections representative of different stages of changing identity. The first section is the combative history of Slovenian territory, the fierceness with which someone embodies their culture, and a metaphorical slaying of the dragon. The second section represents the melancholy and arduous journey of leaving one's home country for a new one, and what gets lost in between, for example, wings. The third section celebrates the rekindling of identity. During this section, the dancers find the resiliency and their wings once again. But in order to embody the thematic dragon, as a choreographer, I had to develop a movement vocabulary. I had to ask, how does a dragon move? Like a lizard, the spinal articulations and deep visual focus. Large arm movements and leaps represent flight. The twitching and thrashing of shoulders and arms symbolizes wings being broken. Floor work and deep pliés indicate prowling or protecting. The flicking of a hand is indicative of a lashing tongue, and the ripple of a spine and the contraction of a chest is like breathing fire. There are 2 primary dance styles I used in the construction of this piece. The first is modern dance, an American dance genre that was originally created in opposition to classical ballet. Crawling, floor work, spinal articulations, contractions, and pedestrian movements such as running come from the modern dance vocabulary. The second style I pulled from is character dance. It's a style that came out of European and Russian ballet companies. It blends the lines, elegance, and rigor of ballet with traditional folk and ethnic dances, making them, so to speak, more performative. Pointed toes, bent legs, strong arms, arched backs, unison, and uprightness are characteristic of this dance style. So there is intention in how I construct the dance. Modern dance is symbolic of American resilience and reform, while character dance evokes traditional Eurocentric values, or at the very least, harkens back to the traditional folk dances and the people who danced them. Despite their seeming opposition, in practice, I found that these 2 dance styles complement each other very well. I also took inspiration from the dancers themselves and often choreographed to their unique strengths, such as one's elegance, articulation, or raw power. And it's to them I owe my gratitude for bringing this dance to life. Slovenian Dragons was performed at Peck School of the Arts Dance Collective 2024, Threads of Memory, and DanceWorks Get It Out There, from which the following footage was taken.
Mayor, would you like me to turn down the lights?
Je trudno ustaviti, težko ritem življenja in dalje končati.